In the Cold War era, families dug into their backyards, desperate to build shelters against nuclear threat. The real challenge wasn't the bomb, but the earth itself, constantly shifting, swelling and settling. Early shelters, built as rigid concrete boxes, quickly cracked and failed under these pressures. The breakthrough came with a simple idea: let the shelter move with the earth, not against it. By laying a bed of gravel and sand beneath the structure, a floating foundation, shelters could flex and shift without breaking. This humble engineering principle, borrowed from ancient builders, turned fragile bunkers into resilient sanctuaries. The floating foundation became the unsung hero, quietly ensuring these shelters endured for decades. Picture a 1960s family huddled around the kitchen table, deciding to build a shelter as the world teetered on the brink. They imagined thick concrete walls and steel doors, an unbreakable fortress. But the earth is alive, always moving, and their rigid designs couldn't withstand its relentless force. Water seeped in, soil shifted, and soon their sanctuaries began to crack and buckle. The dream of a permanent refuge was literally crumbling. The lesson survival underground isn't about brute strength, but about adapting to the living earth. Only by working with the ground, not against it, could their shelters truly last. A new approach was needed, one that embraced flexibility and resilience. The real enemy of underground shelters wasn't nuclear fire, but the restless ground itself. Freeze-thaw cycles heaved the soil, lifting and dropping shelters unevenly. Rigid concrete cracked under these twisting forces, letting in water and decay. Soil types varied: clay, sand, silt, each moving differently, compounding the problem. Even changes in the water table could swell or shrink the earth, stressing the structure. Early builders learned the hard way: the ground is never truly still. Building underground is more like building a boat than a house. The structure must float, not fight. Only flexible foundations could survive the Earth's constant motion. Early Cold War shelters failed spectacularly, cracked, flooded and ruined within years. The problem was universal rigid concrete poured directly onto shifting soil. The solution came from ancient wisdom: foundations built on beds of gravel and sand. This floating foundation decoupled the shelter from the Earth's movements, absorbing shocks and settling. Suddenly, shelters could flex and ride out the ground's slow upheavals. The focus shifted from brute force to smart design. With a simple layer of gravel and sand, fragile boxes became durable vessels. This innovation transformed backyard bunkers into lasting sanctuaries. Building a floating foundation is elegantly simple. First, dig the pit and lay down a thick bed of crushed gravel, 6 to 12 inches deep. Add a layer of coarse sand on top, smoothing the surface and allowing for subtle movement. Pour a single reinforced concrete slab over this cushion. The gravel drains water away, while the sand lets the slab shift gently as the earth moves. The entire shelter floats atop this base, protected from cracks and water intrusion. This method works with nature, not against it, turning a rigid bunker into a resilient vessel. 3 steps: gravel, sand, concrete, create a shelter built to last. Decades later, the results are clear. Shelters built on rigid foundations are cracked, flooded and ruined. But those with floating foundations remain dry, intact and astonishingly well preserved. Historical tests proved it. Gravel and sand bases absorbed shock waves, protecting shelters from both slow earth movement and sudden blasts. The evidence is in the uncracked concrete and dry floors of surviving bunkers. The floating foundation wasn't just theory, it worked, outlasting the very threats it was built to resist. Families who chose this method invested in true resilience. Their sanctuaries endure, silent witnesses to smart engineering. The floating foundation's lesson is timeless. Today, we still need safe, durable underground spaces, storm shelters, root cellars, workshops. The ground hasn't changed. It still moves, swells and floods. Gravel, sand and concrete remain the best defence, simple, affordable and effective. This principle extends beyond bunkers. Flexible, decoupled foundations are key to resilient design everywhere. The smartest solutions are often the simplest, rooted in understanding and working with nature. The floating foundation proves that resilience comes from adaptation, not resistance. By building with the earth, we create sanctuaries that truly last.